Miss Amy, how's it going? Video journal number 3. Free speech stuff, really fun. It's a fun topic. I've been enjoying it. But anyway, so your question is student speech supported or protected under the First Amendment? Do I agree or disagree? I think I already told you this in class, but I kind of agree and I kind of disagree. I agree for the fact that the school is located in this country. I disagree for the fact that the student that has the problem is located in the school. And that seems like that's a little bit far, So try and uh, dictate the rights or dictate for the government to try and dictate the rights of or the restrictions of the school. Uh, it just seems counterintuitive to what a school stands for, because the school is supposed to be a bastion of literacy, expressive thought, critical thinking, and to have what your restrictions are compelled by the government is almost antithetical to what that educational institution is premised on. You know what I mean? And that's what I would say about that, definitely. But I can definitely understand that all of those ideas are probably or the constraining of all of those, the aforementioned ideas, are probably the only reasons that a student would have to speak out against a university's policy. And therefore, that's that makes it a little bit more difficult. But you still have to kind of say that it's a private institution, if it is a private institution. I mean, if it's a public school, then I guess the government can have a little bit more to say about it. Although that's a little tyrannical. I don't know. I mean, tyrannical is a strong word. It's odious. How about that? So anyway, I do have for my example, I do have that book that I was talking about in class by Jonathan Haidt. Let me get on camera. No, this way, Aaron. The Coddling of the American Mind by Greg Lukianoff and Jonathan Haidt. And I was talking about it in class because I've been wanting to read it, but since we're studying it, I picked it up anyway because I'm going to get to it eventually anyway. But yeah, so like I said at the beginning of the video, very interesting topic. It's really fun to talk about. And what I was going to pick to talk about was the Evergreen thing that happened in 2017. And so basically, the students, there's a wait, am I answering the question? Because you said present a case where free speech on a college campus is the focus. What are the facts? Okay, yeah. So yeah, free speech. Okay, so in 2017, there were this group of students that I'm sure you've already heard about this, by the way. So please allow me to bore you. But there's a huge, ridiculous, egregious case that happened. And so anyway, in 2017, at Evergreen State College, which is in Washington, there was this idea that based off of this play, there's this play where black people simply like don't exist, basically, and the moral being, this is what life is like if this group of people isn't here. And so the students were like, okay, that sounds really cool. Let's do that in our school. And they did it, and everybody thought it was really cool. And then they decided to take it from that to white people. And they were like, okay, we're gonna take it to just saying like all white people, faculty and students, stay home, and we'll just see what that's like for fun. And so there was a professor by the name of Brett Weinstein who is actually, I feel like it's worth mentioning, he's a left-leaning professor. Like I said, you probably already know this, but especially being in broadcast, it was such a big deal. But he was a left-leaning professor, and he had a problem with this, which is an interesting thing to note. He said that it's one thing to volunteer yourself to, to absentee yourself, you know what I mean, like as the black people were doing, to make a statement, but it's another thing to demand that the white faculty and students stay home. Like that's tyrannical. Tyrannical is not strong speech right there. That's tyrannical. And so he wrote an email that voiced basically that, and he had some strong opposition, to say the least, and that's outlined in this book. Just a few things I guess I could look through the book to talk about, but basically what the students did was take over the school, and I mean they're not terrorists, like they didn't, they're not gun wielding terrorists. They were just like, hey, we're really mad. Do what we want you to do, and they were all like, you're mad, and so they kind of like the dean just like abided, you know what I mean? And so anyway, they confronted Brett Weinstein in the halls and in one of his classrooms is what they did, and they started, cussing at him and threatening him and telling him that he made them fearful for their lives, and so I guess I don't need to talk too much about what happened specifically. Excuse me, goodness. But it's I can just kind of transition to talking what to the other thing. I mean, you can look up the specifics, but it was egregious. Trust me, the behavior of the students, it was absolutely ridiculous and unnecessary and abhorrent. And you can look up all the details of it. I don't want to bore you in the video. I'm already boring enough. And but anyway, my opinion on it is obviously that there is no. Wait, what was the question? Okay, so what are the facts and what is your opinion? Okay, so my opinion on the Evergreen State Colleges. I think honestly, like, I'm not sure. I'm just not sure I would go there. I'm really not sure I would go there. Basically, the thesis of these two gentlemen's book is that this phenomena of like hyper, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about college campuses. This phenomena of outrage, happening on campuses is actually only happening at like far elite. That's the important word. Elite Western and Northeastern. A lot of Ivy League, universities, and so it just seems apparent to me that, granted, these, like I said, these institutions are supposed to be bastions of education and critical thought, but if they are no longer serving that purpose, then I mean, fuck them, for lack of a better word. It's. I mean, we're doing that right now. Like it just seems like it's going to come around eventually. It already is coming around. There already is talk of this. The fact that we're talking about this in the video is cause and effect to that cause. Like the fact that they're making such a outrage uproar. You know what I mean, over free speech. So I guess I would say that I'm just not that worried about it. I would say that it just doesn't seem like a battleground to me, is what I'm saying. If these institutions want to behave that way, then fine. It sucks. I guess nobody can go to Yale or Stanford or UC Berkeley until, and live a, peaceful existence, enjoying the freedom of speech. But I mean, that's fine. There's places to thrive and, and learn elsewhere. And so I'm at like 8 minutes now. Like I said, I'm not gonna drone on anymore. But yeah, basically I think that about summarizes my opinions. And what are the policies, procedure at Forsyth Technical Community College for student speech? Ooh, you might have me there. Well, it's probably just, man, dang it. Well, it has to be along the same lines. It can't be anything that's gonna like damage property. I mean, you can't, post like signs up that's just gonna damage something. You can't glue shit to the walls, like that kind of deal. You can't do that, obviously. And you obviously probably can't say shit. You can't. That's a good question. I'd have to check it out. This is basically all just dancing around with saying that I don't know. But I imagine it's pretty straightforward. Like you can't say anything hostile, like a call to action, which is like typically how the first, the restrictions around the First Amendment are framed, which is you can't call to action, be like, hey, you should kill this person. Hey, go kill this person. I mean, at the same time, yeah. I don't know. Sorry. I'll see you in class, Miss Sammy. I'll quit droning on. Bye bye.